Search for us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I think it's time. It's time to mix it up.
Hey, dumbass.
Oh, me?
Use your smartphone and download our free iPhone and Android app to take us with you.
Okay. Can you please get off my lawn?
Located in an underground bunker somewhere in Madison, Indiana, is a different kind of podcast. Welcome to Loudmouth with your host, Dean Stidham.
And hey, everyone, welcome. It is Friday afternoon, and I'm sure some people are looking forward to a nice weekend. A lot of people, I can't tell what day of the week it is anymore. Most of my days run together. Some people would say that's a good thing. I think it's a sad thing. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. I wasn't even going to do a show tonight, but everything just keeps changing so quick, and I just wanted to bring you up to date on a couple of things that are a little bit important to me, maybe not you. Concerning the virus, of course, it's the virus now, to me, without a doubt, versus the economy, and hopefully we're trying to swing towards helping the economy out. 30.3 million people signed up for unemployment. That is just unbelievable numbers. But anyway, I hope you're doing well. Earlier today, in case you missed it, the Jefferson County, Indiana EMA committee met locally, as they do, I believe it is every Friday. Excuse me. And I thought there was some interesting take from that. In fact, I thought the most interesting take was from actually the director of EMS, Shane Williams. And let's just go ahead and play that cut now.
Shane Williams, and also their emergency preparedness chairman. Shane, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Once again, KDH, we continue to see a continual influx of people to the COVID clinic. We've tested 939 patients as of yesterday. Blythe gave you the numbers early, just as she was talking. Don't want those 41 to 50 year olds feel left out. You're just right behind the 21 to 30 year olds. When you're looking at those percentages, that's one thing to keep in mind. The isolation clinic or the COVID clinic is still in operation. The number for that's 812-801-8010. If you have questions or concerns or you want to schedule an appointment. As I said, we're still seeing a fairly good stream of people through the COVID clinic daily. Those numbers really haven't came down any at all. So that kind of backs up what Blythe is talking about is, the governor's going to put out some new information and stuff today, but we still need everybody to be vigilant out there and be careful. KDH is able to test anyone who has symptoms for COVID. Once again, contact the clinic. To expand on the antibodies that Dr. Hostler was talking about earlier, KDH is currently able to offer that testing. The Mayo Clinic currently limits us to 40 tests per day that we can submit, so we do schedule the antibody testing. And so you may call the COVID hotline to tell them that you'd like to do the antibody testing. They will help you get scheduled, or your practitioner, whichever. It can be done either way. The test will only be positive if you have contracted the virus previously, knowingly or unknowingly. But there is a little bit of guidelines with that. The CDC guidelines based on who has been sick, whether tested for COVID or not, should wait at least 3 weeks past the onset of symptoms before they're trying to do the antibody test. If they don't, it's too soon, and it may not reflect an accurate result for the patient. Patients who've previously been sick as far back as December or November, as Dr. Hostler said, or those that think they may have been asymptomatic, basically they had few or little or no symptoms, they can be tested at any time. Patient does not have to be sick in order to get the test, but if they have been sick, we would like to know the date if possible. That kind of gives some validation of that time frames I talked about. Two options, as I stated, for the testing. One is go through your provider. If you go through your provider, if you call their office and the provider orders the tests and stuff, we will take care of the billing to the patient's insurance, and the results will go to the provider. If the patient wants to schedule that antibody testing, as I said, call the COVID hotline to register for that testing. There is a cost associated with that at $75 that has to be paid on the day of service. Patient can then submit that reimbursement back to their insurance company, and KDH will provide that paperwork to them to be able to do that. That's like that direct access testing that Dr. Hostler was speaking of. And then those results will go to the patient unless they specify for those to go to some other person, such as their provider or which have you. So outside of that, we just, once again, we want to thank everybody for all the hard work out there and all the support that's given to all the first responders, especially KDH. We do appreciate that.
And hopefully that'll help clear up some of the testing and what you can do. That was Shane Williams, director of the ambulance service at King's Daughters Hospital. And that was a meeting that took place earlier today. The Jefferson County EMA committee, I believe they meet every Friday, but I thought that was some interesting information. Some things, of course, I still have questions about. I know we've had medical professionals that have contacted the virus, and you would think these people are so well protected, and just not sure how they contacted it. I don't know how you protect from it. This is probably why I'm sort of a believer in we need to get back to work. If you go anywhere outside and you touch anything, and I know you're supposed to clean your hands, but you clean, you touch, you clean, I'm just not sure, and I know they'll look back and probably learn so much about this. But anyway, I'm just a firm believer we need to get the economy going. And I still believe masks are important because I'm a touch my face type person. And I think a lot of times if something's on your hand, you touch your face. And we all know how that works as well. Some people will argue that the lockdown and shutdown has somewhat possibly worked in a reverse type reaction. Now, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but they say when you protect yourself from viruses, our body has its own tendency to build up its own immunities. Now, with that being said, do I get a flu shot every year? Yes, I do. So that's just being thrown out there. A couple of doctors were talking about that yesterday, and I believe they got taken down off YouTube, and they were frontline doctors, ER doctors as well. So make up your own mind. I think it just needs to be left up to us to meet with our family, make our decisions, be diligent, be careful, and let's just see where it all goes. But I do believe we are starting to open back up. Coming up, I'm going to tell you about a few guests that I have coming up next week. Also, we'll take a listen to Ben Crenshaw. This gentleman, Dan Crenshaw, I should say. Dan, he is without a doubt a patriot. He takes Bill Maher on head to head, and also gives his thoughts on Nancy Pelosi. We'll do that here in just a moment. But in the meantime, I want to do a throwback, a vintage commercial from the 70s. This first one up, this will be Burger King. These people are helping feed the first responders and healthcare workers as we go through this all together. I think you might like this. A little bit grainy, but listen as well.
May I help you, sir?
If I wanted a Whopper and I asked you to hold the pickles and hold the lettuce, I know I'd get that fast. But would I get to hear you sing?
No, sir.
No?
You'd get to hear us sing. Girls? Ooh, hold the pickle, hold the lettuce, special order, donuts, and all we ask is that you let us serve it your way.
All right.
Yeah, we can fill your brawls, Whopper, bash everything on top or any way you think it's proper, have it your way.
Hey, you got one big hit on your hands.
Well, the Whopper's one big hamburger. Yeah, have it your way. Have it your way. Have it your way at Burger King.
Wow, does that take you back? I believe that's from the early 70s. Okay, as mentioned, this is Bill Maher, however you want to say it. He's got his own show on Showtime. I'm not a big Bill fan, even though he's sort of a stand-up guy. He speaks his mind. But he goes head-to-head with Dan Crenshaw, Congressman. And Congressman Dan, I think, holds his own. And, of course, a lot of this is concerning who else but our president. It's a little lengthy, but I think you'll enjoy the listen.
Okay, but you do what a lot of Republicans do. You talk about his tweets and his style. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the person who is the leader of the country at a time of crisis. And we have to go through what he actually has done. This is important stuff. It's about life and death, and it's about our economy and everything that's really important. It's not tweets and it's not style. Let's just go through the timeline, okay? Because he was warned. This did not have to happen. Alex Azar, his Health and Human Services guy, January 18th, he warned him about this. And again on January 30th, Trump said he was being an alarmist. Peter Navarro, somebody else who talks to Trump a lot, told him directly January 29th, you got to get ahead of this. February 10th.
2 days later, he implemented a restrictive travel ban from China, which he was widely criticized for. That same day, on January 31st, Nancy Pelosi proposed the No Ban Act, which would be congressional limitation on what President Trump's actually able to do with that travel restriction.
Okay, but he lies about that. First of all,
How does he lie about it? What do you mean?
He said he stopped people coming in from China. He did not. He said he was ahead of it. 43 countries did it before we did. There are still people coming in from China. He only stopped foreign nationals.
Yeah, okay. Let me address that, because I know that's what people are saying right now. But the reality is, it was about 40,000 people came in after that. These are U.S. citizens and green card holders and passport holders being repatriated. U.S. citizens. So you have to make the argument then that we shouldn't allow them in. I mean, it sounds to me like you're fully agreeing with President Trump on this when everybody else disagreed with him. And if you're saying that you wish that travel restriction had been more extreme, okay, fine. You apparently had the foresight back then, but when nobody else did. But the fact is, if Joe Biden was in charge at that moment, he's already said he wouldn't have done it. He criticized it at the time. Nancy Pelosi actually proposed legislation to stop it.
Okay, so, but people are still coming in from China. It wasn't just foreign nationals, but let's get off that. Let me just go back to the timeline for a minute. February 10th, after these warnings, he says it's going to go away in April with the heat because he had a hunch. February 25th, he goes to India. This is 4 days after the White House coronavirus task force said we're going to have to lock down the country. And Dr. Nancy Messonnier, who's in charge of the Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases. Wait a second, let me just finish. She announced this on the 26th, on the 25th, that we're going to have to lock down the country. He said the next day, 15 people have it, and it's soon going to be close to zero. March 6th, he said anyone who wants a test can get it, which is still completely,
let me stick to February.
Completely wrong.
As you go forward, because you mentioned February 25th. The day before, February 24th, that's when the administration requested $2.5 billion from Congress to fulfill, CDC, NIH, and FDA funding to combat the virus and the potential spread of it. What happened right then? I'll tell you, because I was in Congress and I know what happened. Did we vote on a supplemental funding bill? No. Did we wait days to vote? No, still didn't vote on it. You know what we voted on later that week? Nancy Pelosi, the only thing she would put on the floor to vote on was a bill to ban flavored tobacco. That's what actually happened. It was only a week later that we actually voted on the supplemental funding that the administration requested. Your criticism appears to be based in one thing, that Trump was overly optimistic. That's his style. Again, you can criticize it. That's fine. But it's not connected to the actions that were actually taken. Because if I back up even further, February 14th, CDC announces ongoing work with 5 laboratories to perform community-based influenza surveillance and study the spread of the virus. We're in a fact-finding mode in February. People forget this. People keep calling February this lost month. But it's really not. That's an easy and cheap accusation because there's no big, bold moves taken like there was in January or like there was in March. But the reality is our government was working to create that test. Now, did they work as fast as we would have liked? And of course not. And there's a lot of reasons for that, which I'm happy to go into. By March 3rd, there was only 102 cases in the United States. And yet I'm hearing criticism that we should have been locked down weeks earlier. But would you think the American people would have accepted that with only 100 cases in the United States? Italy didn't lock down until March 10th. Spain, not until March 14th. UK, not until later in March. Places like Sweden's never locked down. And so I provide all of that context as we try to basically accuse this man of he's being accused of having blood on his hands. And context is so important here.
Well, it is. And also, it's not just about being optimistic. It's about being right. The world was aware of this. And since when does America take its lead from Italy and Spain?
Well, because those were where the outbreaks were happening.
I understand.
Right? Well, I'm pointing it out again for context.
But
if we're going to criticize somebody's actions, we have to do it in the context of the facts they knew at the time. And so I'm just trying to be fair here. That I don't really care about defending him or his actions. I just care about letting people know the truth. And when people make these accusations, I have to ask them a question: is the goal to make Trump look bad, or is the goal to get to the truth? Because there's two different sets of answers for that.
Okay, but sometimes they converge. Sometimes the truth is that somebody who says, I have a hunch,
they converge.
I have a hunch this is going to go away. Is that someone you would want to have served with? I mean, my God, I don't understand, why someone with your resume, you were in Fallujah, for God's sakes. Would you want someone, a commander, to say that to you, to blame everybody else if something goes wrong, and then to say, I have a hunch the enemy's not going to be in there. Let's attack.
Sure, no, I understand that. So here's how I would describe my answer to that. When bullets are flying past my head, I don't need to raise my voice. And I write about this in my book too. Calm breeds calm, panic breeds panic. Being an optimistic, positive, and exuding positivity and calmness in crisis is exactly how we ask our SEALs to lead. Now I'm not sure I see a lot of evidence for blaming others, maybe blaming China, although there's a lot of evidence for that. So maybe that's a good place to play blame. But I
did it last
Trump
week.
Blaming, Democrats here, or he's exposing hypocrisy, and maybe we're confusing that with blame. But no, I mean, again, calm breeds calm, and that's how we would lead in the SEAL teams.
And I believe that is so well said. Anyone out there that's ever been in the trenches or has worked EMS, firefighter, police, nurses, doctors, forgive me if I'm leaving anybody out, but no doubt about it, when, for lack of a better term, when the shit hits the fan, you want calm people. You don't want people panicky. But anyway, I thought that was well said. I like that little debate going back and forth. Hope you enjoyed it. And this was this morning on Fox News. And also Dan Crenshaw. I called him Crenshaw earlier. I apologize, Dan, if you ever listen to this. But here was his take on Congress and Nancy Pelosi. This is a lot shorter cut. Take a listen to this.
And now you're pushing back against Nancy Pelosi because essentially the House, the return next week, postponed.
Cowardice. Cowardice is the only way to describe that. This is more than just about accountability. And let me remind everybody, if we got paid hourly in Congress, you bet Nancy Pelosi would be there. You bet they'd be there. Now, here's the thing. This is about leadership. This is about leading on the front lines, along with the American people who are also on the front lines. Nurses, doctors, people still working grocery stores, still working our supply chains, people trying to grow food and raise cattle and watching their food production plummet. Listen, people are having real problems, but people are trying and they're fighting on the front lines. They're risk mitigating, they're being smart, but they're still engaging in life. Why can't Congress do the same? It's about leadership. It's about demonstrating to the American people that we're not scared and spineless. Just for once, I wish we would actually demonstrate that. There is no problem going in and debating. Okay, you can exert the same kind of risk mitigation measures that everybody else across America is doing. And yet Nancy Pelosi refuses to do that. The Senate is going back to work, and thank God we have them doing that. The House needs to do the same. This is cowardly to the core. I honestly can't even believe it. This is such a lack of leadership.
Amen, my friend. I think that was well said. Congress, get off your ass, get back to work. It's just ridiculous. They hold all the strings, and especially if they're going to keep everybody locked down. We're just about to get on out of here. I do want to thank once again the people that are feeding the first responders and our healthcare workers. McDonald's, I know, is one. Burger King is one. I'm not sure of all the others. If there's one, there's a lot of them out there. Please let me know, because I want to give everybody their just dues on that. And if you know somebody you think should be recognized for going above and beyond, just like our local police department is doing, I guess they're still picking up prescriptions for those who are locked in and can't get out. I think the Chief of Police, John Wallace, and all the fine officers should be commended for that. And I'm sure on one aspect, I'm sure our county officers are doing somewhat of the same thing. But if somebody, I don't get out, I'm not getting out at all. Only thing I'm getting is through what I get through media. And we know most of the time that's wrong. So if there's something you want to share or you feel there's a story that needs to be told, let me know. You can contact me at mustseevideo2522 gmail.com. You can get me through Facebook. I have pages. It's not that tough to get a hold of me. And in the meantime, we're going to listen to one more spot. This is a vintage McDonald's spot, and then we'll give you a lineup on next week's show and get on out of here.
Grab a bucket and mop, scrub the bottom and top. There is nothing so clean as my burger machine. With a broom and a brush, clean it up for the rush. Before you open the door, want to shine on the floor. When we finish one day, start all over again. Tell me, what does it mean? And McDonald's is great.
Wow, does that take you back? That's early 70s. That's McDonald's. Apologize for the quality, but it is what it is. Magnetics don't last near as well as our technology today. That's pretty well going to do it up for me today. Just a couple of things I thought you might find a little interesting. I thank each and every one of you, of course, for listening in. You're what make this all possible, and it really helps me because I'm truly under lockdown. My coworkers, I guess soon to be ex-coworkers, I miss you guys, and hope to get down and see you real soon. I appreciate you asking how I'm doing, and I'm hanging in there, and God bless you all, and hope you're hanging in there. Hey, everyone, be good to each other. Do want to remind you that coming up, Scott Davidson is going to be talking to us concerning the Parks Department, which direction they might be going. He'll also have his take, I'm sure, on Madison leaving the Use Your Heels Conference. We'll talk about some college. Who knows what me and Scott will talk about. We go way back. Also, Rusty Blade and I hope to have on as a guest here in the very near future. He's also committed. But next week, Tuesday, we have Lorna Adams. She's a psychic. She's going to tell us how people on the other side might be thinking about how everything's going on. And also, we have Tracy Maxfield. She'll be on as well next week. And she's all about bullying and some of the stuff going on social media and our younger people. In the meantime, stay safe. Hey, have a great weekend. It looks like it's beautiful outside. That's where I'm headed. And thanks for joining me. You make it all possible. My name is Dean. This is Loudmouth. Good night, everybody.